Did you know that by 2050, over 2 million homes in Florida could be swallowed by the sea? That's not science fiction. It's what researchers from Climate Central are warning right now. Whole neighborhoods, beaches, and cities like Miami and Key West are facing a future where streets flood even on sunny days and ocean tides creep into living rooms. And it's not just water. We're talking hurricanes, vanishing insurance, and collapsing property values. Florida is on the brink of a housing disaster unlike anything we've seen before in the US. What happens when your home becomes uninsurable? Or when rising sea levels erase your entire neighborhood? Not in a dramatic hurricane, but slowly, silently over the years? Millions of homeowners could lose everything, and most of them don't even see it coming. In this video, we're breaking down 10 powerful reasons why millions of Floridians are about to lose their homes, and how this could impact all of us, no matter where we live. Stick around. You need to hear this. Number 1. Rising sea levels are already swallowing Florida. It's not a future problem. It's happening right now. Florida is one of the flattest states in the U.S., with large stretches of land sitting just a few feet above sea level. That makes it dangerously vulnerable as oceans rise, and scientists warn that by 2060, Florida could see sea levels rise by up to 2.5 feet. That might not sound like much, but in a place where entire cities are barely above water, it's catastrophic. What does that mean for people living there? Homes that once had million-dollar views could soon have front-row seats to ocean flooding. Streets that flood during heavy rain are now seeing sunny-day floods, when high tides alone push water into neighborhoods. This isn't just inconvenient. It's damaging foundations, rusting cars, destroying lawns, and causing mold and structural decay. The worst part? It's relentless and irreversible. Even if we cut emissions today, sea levels will continue to rise for decades due to the warming already locked into our climate system. Some cities like Miami Beach and Fort Lauderdale are already spending millions of dollars on pumps, seawalls, and elevation projects. But these are temporary band-aids. Property values in flood-prone zones are beginning to drop, and the market knows what's coming. Investors are starting to back away, but many homeowners are stuck, unable to sell, unable to leave, watching the water inch closer every year. So ask yourself this: what happens when your home becomes part of the ocean? For millions of Floridians, that's not just a nightmare. It's becoming a very real timeline. Number 2. Flooding is happening, even on sunny days. You might think floods only happen during hurricanes or heavy storms, but in Florida, flooding can happen when the sky is perfectly clear. It's called sunny day flooding, and it's becoming a regular nightmare for coastal communities. This type of flooding is caused by high tides and rising sea levels, not rain. As the ocean slowly creeps higher, seawater starts spilling into streets, yards, and even homes, with no warning and no storm in sight. Cities like Miami, St. Petersburg, and Fort Lauderdale are already experiencing hundreds of flood events per year, and it's getting worse. Imagine stepping out your front door on a bright, sunny morning and finding your driveway under 6 inches of salt water. It damages cars, kills lawns, weakens foundations, and makes roads impassable. And here's the scary part. This is now part of daily life in many places, not just a seasonal problem. Sunny day flooding also overwhelms stormwater systems and causes sewage backups, making neighborhoods not just wet, but unsafe and unhealthy. And it doesn't just hit once. It happens again and again, especially during king tides and full moons. As these floods increase, property values drop and insurance premiums go up or disappear completely. Some residents are even building their own DIY flood barriers just to protect their homes from the ocean that shows up without warning. So when people say, "Florida's sinking," this is what they mean. Not with waves crashing through windows, but with the ocean quietly rising, inch by inch, until living in paradise no longer feels like paradise at all. Number 3. Florida's home insurance market is falling apart. Imagine owning your dream home, only to find out you can't insure it anymore. That's exactly what's happening across Florida right now. As climate disasters become more frequent and costly, major insurance companies are pulling out of the state. Companies like Farmers, Los Angeles, and Bankers Insurance have already stopped offering new policies in Florida, and more are following. Why? Because the risk is just too high. With rising sea levels, stronger hurricanes, and more flood damage every year, insurance companies are losing billions. Many can't afford to stay in business, and those that remain are raising premiums sky high. Some homeowners have seen their insurance costs double or even triple in just 1 year. This creates a dangerous ripple effect. Without insurance, homeowners can't get mortgages. Without mortgages, homes become harder to sell. And if a disaster strikes, uninsured homeowners could lose everything overnight. In many areas, residents are being forced onto Florida's state-run insurance program, which is already under pressure and may not be sustainable long-term. It gets worse. Some homeowners are being dropped by their insurers with no warning, simply because they live in a high-risk area. Others are being denied coverage after minor damage, or being told to make expensive upgrades just to keep their policies. The safety net is disappearing, and millions are walking a financial tightrope. No insurance means no protection, no stability, and no peace of mind. So what do you do when even the insurance companies say, "This place is too dangerous to cover"? For many Floridians, that terrifying moment is already here, and it's only getting worse. Number 4. Hurricanes are getting bigger, stronger. Florida has always had hurricanes, but not like this. In the past few decades, storms have grown more intense, more frequent, and far more destructive. Scientists agree because of climate change and rising ocean temperatures, hurricanes are packing more power, more rainfall, and higher storm surges than ever before. Take Hurricane Ian in 2022, for example. It caused over $112 billion in damages, making it one of the costliest storms in U.S. history. Entire neighborhoods were wiped out and thousands of families were left without homes. And that was just one storm. Experts say hurricanes like Ian will become more common in the coming years. Here's why this matters. Stronger hurricanes mean more destruction, more insurance claims, and more people choosing not to rebuild. Some families can't afford it. Others don't want to go through the trauma again. Many are walking away, leaving behind empty homes and ghost neighborhoods. And even if your home survives the wind, it may not survive the flooding. Warmer air holds more moisture, which leads to heavier rainfall and longer floods. Water can destroy foundations, ruin electrical systems, and leave homes full of dangerous mold. What's worse? These storms are hitting places farther inland, where people aren't prepared. And when multiple hurricanes hit in the same season, recovery becomes nearly impossible. So ask yourself, how many times can a home be rebuilt before it's abandoned for good? For many Floridians, the answer is once, maybe twice. Then it's time to leave. Number 5. Saltwater is sneaking into Florida's drinking water. It's not just the land that's being swallowed. Florida's freshwater is under attack too. As sea levels rise, saltwater from the ocean is creeping underground, pushing into the aquifers that supply millions of people with drinking water. This slow invasion is called saltwater intrusion. And it's one of the most dangerous, invisible threats facing Florida right now. Many Floridians get their water from the Biscayne Aquifer, a shallow underground layer that's already being contaminated by salt. Once salt water gets in, it's extremely difficult and expensive to remove. That means entire water systems may become unusable, leaving cities to search for new, costly sources of clean water. In places like South Florida, some wells have already been shut down because the salt levels were too high. And as sea levels keep rising, this problem will only get worse. Areas close to the coast, and even some inland, could find themselves without a reliable, safe water supply. So what happens when a city can't provide clean water? People leave. Businesses close. Property values drop. No one wants to live where the taps run dry or where the water tastes like the ocean. This threat is especially hard to fix. Unlike a storm, you can't see it coming. It doesn't make headlines, but over time, it can quietly make an entire area unlivable. Florida's water crisis isn't coming. It's already started. And if nothing changes, millions may be forced to move. Not because their homes are underwater, but because they can't drink what comes out of the faucet. If this video opened your eyes, do us one small favor. Hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it means the world to us after all the research and editing we put in. And tell us in the comments, would you stay in Florida or leave before it's too late? Number 6. Florida's beaches are disappearing. Florida without beaches? That's not just bad for vacations. It's a disaster for the state's economy. Millions of tourists visit Florida each year to enjoy its white, sandy shores, bringing in over $40 billion annually. But now, thanks to rising sea levels and stronger storms, those beaches are shrinking fast. Coastal erosion is washing away sand at an alarming rate. In some areas, beaches are losing several feet every year, leaving behind narrow, rocky shorelines or no beach at all. And when the beaches go, so do the tourists, rental income, and jobs that local communities depend on. Cities are spending millions on beach nourishment projects, where sand is pumped back onto the shore. But here's the truth, it's only a temporary fix. That sand washes away again with the next storm or high tide. In many places, it's like fighting a losing battle against the ocean. And it's not just about the economy. When beaches disappear, homes built nearby lose their buffer against storm surges. Waves crash closer, flooding homes more easily and damaging foundations. That means more destruction, higher insurance costs, and lower property values. Worse, developers are still building right up to the coast, ignoring the warning signs. But nature doesn't care about property lines. Once the sand is gone, it's gone. And so is the safety net for those multi-million-dollar beach homes. So next time you see a postcard-perfect Florida beach, remember, it might not be there much longer. And with it, entire communities and economies could vanish too. Number 7. Overbuilding is destroying Florida's natural defenses. Florida isn't just being hit by climate change, it's also being hurt by bad planning. For decades, developers have built homes, condos, and shopping centers in areas that were once wetlands, marshes, and natural flood zones. But here's the problem. Those wetlands weren't just empty land. They were Florida's natural defense system. Wetlands act like giant sponges. They absorb floodwaters, slow down storm surges, and help prevent water from rushing into neighborhoods. But when they're paved over and replaced with buildings and roads, that protection vanishes. Now, when heavy rain or hurricanes hit, there's nowhere for the water to go. Streets flood faster, homes take more damage, and what used to be rare events are now regular disasters in many parts of the state. The drive for profit has come at a steep cost. Thousands of acres of wetlands have been destroyed, often replaced by neighborhoods that look great on brochures, but flood every rainy season. Even worse, these homes are often sold to families without warning them of the risk. This isn't just an environmental issue, it's a human one. Families are moving into homes that were never meant to be built, only to find themselves stuck in flood zones with rising insurance costs and falling property values. And here's the harsh truth. Once wetlands are gone, they're almost impossible to bring back. So while nature is fighting back with rising waters, we've weakened our own defenses by building in the worst possible places. And in the end, it's not the developers who pay the price. It's the everyday people who just wanted a place to call home. Number 8. Climate gentrification is pushing people out. Not every threat comes from storms or rising seas. One of the most surprising and heartbreaking trends in Florida right now is climate gentrification. As coastal areas become more vulnerable to flooding, higher ground is suddenly in high demand, and that's pushing longtime residents out of their own neighborhoods. Take Little Haiti in Miami, for example. For years, it was a low-income, working-class community built on slightly higher elevation than nearby beachfront areas. But as sea levels rise, wealthier buyers and developers started targeting these inland neighborhoods, not for their culture, but for their safety from floods. The result? Long-term residents are being priced out. Rent goes up, property taxes increase, and families who've lived there for generations are forced to move, often to areas that are actually more at risk from climate impacts. It's a silent crisis. People aren't leaving because of a hurricane or a flood. They're being pushed out because their once overlooked neighborhoods suddenly became valuable real estate. And the sad irony is, many of these families end up in coastal or low-lying areas, where homes are cheaper, but far more dangerous. Climate change isn't just displacing people with water, It's shifting entire communities through money and land grabs. This trend is happening quietly, but it's accelerating. And if nothing changes, we'll see wealthy people buying safety, while the vulnerable are left behind to face the worst. So ask yourself, is it fair that the people who did the least to cause climate change are now the ones being pushed out of their homes because of it? Mahar 9. Leaders are ignoring the warnings. Here's one of the biggest reasons Florida is heading toward disaster: political inaction. Despite decades of warnings from scientists, engineers, and environmental experts, many Florida leaders have chosen to ignore or downplay the threat of climate change. And now, millions of people may pay the price. In some cases, state officials have even gone so far as to remove the words climate change from official documents and reports. Instead of facing the problem head on, they've stalled action, rejected funding for climate resilience, and allowed risky development to continue in the most vulnerable areas. Why? Sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's money, but either way, the results are the same: outdated infrastructure, weak building codes, and a lack of long-term planning. When leaders fail to act, everyday people suffer. Roads flood, schools close, insurance disappears, and homes become unlivable. And when disasters strike, communities often find themselves underprepared and overwhelmed. Even worse, short-term solutions are often used just to win votes, not to actually protect people. Sandbags and seawalls are handed out after storms, but where is the long-term strategy? Where is the vision for a Florida that can survive the next 50 years? Like, it's easy to blame nature, but in many cases, it's poor leadership that's made this crisis worse. And while cities like Miami and Tampa are trying to step up, real change has to come from the top, with bold decisions, serious investment, and honest conversations about what the future looks like. Until then, millions of Floridians remain on their own, stuck between rising waters and sinking policies. Number 10. Florida's real estate market is headed for collapse. Let's be honest, homes are only valuable if someone wants to buy them. And in Florida, the real estate market is starting to show signs of serious trouble. As climate risks grow, flooding, hurricanes, disappearing insurance, buyers and investors are beginning to back away, and that spells disaster for homeowners. The early warning signs are already here. Properties in flood-prone areas are losing value faster than those in safer zones. In some neighborhoods, homes are sitting on the market for months with no offers, especially when flood histories or high insurance costs are revealed. And investors who once poured money into Florida's booming market are now thinking twice or pulling out completely. Why? Because climate risk is becoming financial risk. Banks don't want to finance homes they know will be underwater, literally or economically, in the next 20 years. Insurance companies are fleeing, and once confidence in a local market disappears, it can crash overnight. This doesn't just hurt wealthy beachfront homeowners. It impacts everyone. Middle-class families, retirees, landlords, and even renters will feel the shock when neighborhoods start to empty, tax bases shrink, and cities lose funding for basic services. Imagine paying off your mortgage for 20 years only to find out your house is now worth half as much or nothing at all. That's the frightening reality millions of Floridians could face in the next few decades. So here's the hard truth. It's not always a flood or a hurricane that takes your home. Sometimes it's the market walking away from it and taking your future with it. So now you know the threat isn't just coming, it's already here. From rising seas and vanishing beaches to disappearing insurance and collapsing markets, Florida is standing on a dangerous edge. Millions of homes are at risk, and many families have no idea how close they are to losing everything. Not in some distant future, but possibly within their own lifetime. And this isn't just a Florida problem, it's a warning sign for all of us. What's happening in the Sunshine State could soon happen in coastal cities around the world. Climate change doesn't care about borders, income levels, or political lines. It affects everyone, and it's accelerating faster than many expected. But here's the thing, while the threat is massive, there's still time to act. We can demand smarter planning, climate-resilient infrastructure, and real accountability from leaders. We can protect vulnerable communities, preserve what's left of Florida's natural defenses, and prepare, not panic, for the changes ahead. Because the worst outcome isn't just losing homes, it's doing nothing and letting it happen. If this video helped you see things differently, please support our channel by hitting that subscribe button. We put a lot of work into bringing you the full picture, and your one click helps us keep going. And tell us in the comments, would you stay, move, or fight to protect your home if you lived in Florida? This isn't just a story about buildings and beaches. It's about people, families, futures. And the choices we make right now will decide how many homes and how many lives we can still save.